Detector flagged this as AI. 58 on one half, 71 on the other. Same hook, same drafting method that scored 1% last episode. Something broke. Today, we find out what broke and whether fixing it for readers fixes the number or proves the number doesn't matter. And at the end, we run the fixed chapter back through the detector. I genuinely don't know what it's going to say. We find out together.
58 and 71? 2 chances to be right. And it took both chances to be mean. Quick note.
This is a reenactment. Everything you'll see really happened. Full note in the description. Soul did the drafting. Before it wrote a word, we handed it our constraints. The method you find in these books. So this is what we're working with. This is what GPT 5.6 produced. Chapter 2 is the tonal opposite of Chapter 1. The feudal myths. 2 brothers. Sakumio the tactician, Jotaka the legend, trying to save a village of marked families from a purge. It's the origin the whole book hangs on. The raw drafts went through the same detector in halves, because it only takes 1,500 words. First half, 58. Unclear. And second half, 71. Likely AI. Same chapter. Chapter 1 scored a 1%. Same method. Same week. The pattern, the halves that score human across this book are the intimate ones. A boy discovering power, a giant crying in a cell. What flags is battle choreography and the lore exposition. Long stretches where every sentence is the same size doing the same job. Get it? The detector isn't detecting AI, it's detecting evenness. Action scenes make even the best writers metronomes. So part of the stop-slop method is you audit the model's work. So we audited Chapter 2, and what you're looking for is the vanilla. LLMs reach for the safest, most common word there is. They're predicting the most likely next word, so they always reach for the cliches. Or if it wasn't cliche, it has become one now because of them. So the audit flagged 3 manufactured metaphors. First flag, the fire mouth. The sentence, each home becoming a red mouth behind its own walls. Pretty standard. And in a replacement, the model offered as an alternative, each home glowing like a forge. If I hear one more metaphor about a forge in a fantasy, I'm going to puke. So, to make a better metaphor, if you have a POV character for that chapter, you want to make it specific to that character. Sakumio reads the fire tactically. He's a tactician. He's a warrior. So the wardens burn the village in the careful squares. What does a commander see in orderly arson? I went for a couple ideas. My first one was each home a vigil candle lit by men who meant to mourn no one. You know, I just thought of these fires standing there, or burning there, kind of, if you were looking from the top down and you were a demigod of some sort or a deity, you might look like people standing around holding candles for holding vigil for the death, because it's the death of that town, the death of the people. Other options were they burned the way they kept their ledgers, but I feel like I go for ledgers a little too much. But you know, one clean entry at a time, each house its umpire. Not really working for me. Or like a beacon, the fires had the discipline of beacons, lit in order, each one answering the last. It makes me think of Lord of the Rings. 2 towers. The fires are lit. Or maybe, is it in Return of the King? Redo that part. Redo. Makes me think of everyone's favorite fantasy. Who will come? Gondor will come. The beacon is lit. It's actually pretty really cool cinematic in the movie. So let's go with the visual metaphor. Flag number 2. The intimacy abstraction. The climax line. So this is like the most expensive spot in the novel. The second metaphor we flagged, call it the intimacy abstraction. Is this the climax of the chapter? So it's prime real estate. The sentence was, power came through him with the intimacy of a remembered name. The alternative from the motto was, power flooded through him like a dam breaking. I stay away from cliches like this. As a rule, I stay away from elements. So at water, fire, wind, earth. I stay away from cloth. I stay away from weather. Swirled like a storm. I hate that stuff. So, I would say something like, power entered him like a lord returning to a keep that had kept his rooms ready. And kind of echoes what's going on in the chapter. Maybe power came through him the way a door opens from the inside. Something was being let home. Or power crossed into him like an heir stepping over the threshold he had always owned. I would probably go with A lord returning to a keep that had kept his rooms ready. We'll move on to the third one. This is like the heartbeat clock. The continuity. Sentence, the tree stood for one puzzled heartbeat. Before its crown began to lean. Re-executed second heartbeat in chapter 1. On camera. Can't keep one here. Smallest changes. The tree stood a moment longer than this crown began to lean. The tree stood long enough for Jataka to grin. The crown began to lean. Or, the tree stood until the next volley. The crown began to lean. Really, any of those kind of work. So, the draft's voice is real. The flags are lapses, not the norm. If you read one or two keepers, like, power entered him like a lord returning to a keep that had kept his rooms ready. Or, the tree stood long enough for Jataka to grin. The crown began to lean. These are personal. These are human. And, they put a human fingerprint that throws away that robot sound. We ran the revised chapter through the review swarm. These are 10 simulated readers, essentially one model wearing 10 very different hats. It's a rehearsal, not an audience, but it's the toughest rehearsal you can buy. Average 3.6. All 10 finished, and 7 of them flagged the same stretch. The warden's speech, not the battle. The rehearsal caught something the detector never once flagged. And then the rescore, the moment of truth, broke the metronome, trimmed the speech, threaded the quiet thoughts back to the battle. And here's the part that matters more than any number. I read the second half, and I like it. It's a battle. It's supposed to hit like drums. I could keep sanding it until the meter smiles, but I'd be sanding off the exact thing that makes it work. So I'm making the call the meter can't make. It stays. That's the method's last step. And nobody talks about it. The tool served the judgment. Never the other way around. And one more thing. The detector we use, and most of them, all sell a humanized button. One click, and it rewrites your prose so it passes their detector as human. These companies are out to make money. It's a business. It's like the pharmaceutical company that sells you one pill that makes your pain go away but could kill you. And then another pill that reverses the effects to save your life. It's like selling poison and the antidote at the same time. We got it all. We'll let you almost kill yourself, and we'll also help you get back to life for a fee. They're not here to defend the sanctity of literature as it stands. I promise you that. I even tried it once. It's junk. It sands off everything that was yours and hands back something that belongs to nobody. Stay away from humanizers, Bill. You do it yourself with the method. That's the entire point of this channel. Next time, Chapter 3. The boy digs a sword out of his backyard, and something inside it has been waiting 70 years for someone to talk to. So, if you want to check out our free guide, it's on the website. The books, plural, are on Amazon. We have the complete stop-stop method on its own, and then we have really in-depth specialty guides for different models. So far we have one for ChatGPT, and then we have one, for my preference, Claude. And that's really where my expertise kind of shows. So I would recommend the How to Write with Claude Without Sounding Like a Robot. It's on Amazon. Stick around and sound human.